let's see what happens then. Be all right when we get into it.
Plausible.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the next edition of the Farmer Networks podcast. I am delighted to be joined by an old friend of mine, Georgina Lamb, who is Senior Partnerships Manager for the Farming Community Network. And we're just going to have a chat about the work that the network's doing now in these interesting times we face in farming. So, good afternoon, Georgina. How are you doing?
Afternoon. I'm well. I'm great. Thank you very much, Adam. Yeah, no complaints today.
Now you're over there somewhere in deepest, darkest West Yorkshire, over the hill from this part of the world. I know from many conversations we've had that you are a farmer's daughter. So whereabouts is that, and where do you come from?
Where do I come from? Yes. Well, I'm in the Badlands of Halifax. So we are a very, very urban farming family, farm just outside of Halifax town centre. So yeah, my dad and mum bought it was a barn that was needed converting and a small plot of land actually near the Shibden Valley. So if anybody had watched the Gentleman Jack series, we're very much part of that and have all of the coal mines throughout our lands, which made very exciting adventures when I was a child growing up on the farm. But my parents did find their way into agriculture originally from an entertainment background, but saw the benefits of having a farming family and the trials and tribulations. Learned that calves liked to die on them, but yeah, pieced their way through it. And here we still are, 40 odd years later, with a small herd. We have a Hereford bull to ease of calving. We had quite a few challenges when we had continentals. So to make things a little easier, we've got a lovely Hereford bull and a continental cross suckler herd, and just have three horses and the joys that brings, the arguments that it has when it churns up the land. But yeah, it's been a lovely life. But I've also had the benefit of having large conurbations on my doorstep. So I went to Leeds University, but lived at home and was able to explore the life of Halifax and Bradford and get a taxi home quite easily. So yeah, it's been an interesting place to live, work, and operate from.
So urban fringe farming must have its challenges as well, though.
100%. We've been the victim of theft countless times, gave up having quads completely, and regularly have to assess what's been pinched off what. We were really unfortunate 18 months ago to have quite a tragic farm fire as well. So lost a load of our winter fodder and my dad's beloved best crop of hay he's ever done. And that was deemed as an arson attack. So really created a lot of vulnerability and uncertainty as to who was snooping around. And I think the difficulty with urban farming is things are stolen to order, but we have such an amazing road network that they are off the farm on the motorway and gone before you've even woken up. So really does have its challenges. And I think as well, the lack of understanding from our neighbours and people that don't know why so all of a sudden the place smells of manure. It's because we've been muck spreading, or you'll get complaints that cows are belly aching because we've just weaned the calves. So it's that lack of understanding of what we're actually trying to do, while the people are possibly just hung the washing out and aren't really happy that it now smells of cow muck. But yeah, it's been lovely that we are able to educate the public and what we do. Challenges with the amount of walkers that we have across land with cows and calves in, so we're very mindful of that and try to mitigate wherever possible. But yeah, it has its challenges for sure.
And the effects on you and your family when those incidents happen, the stress, the worry, that must be tantamount as well.
Horror, absolute horror. I was farm sitting on the actual day. My parents had a very rare night away in Scarborough, but then having to phone them up at 1 o'clock in the morning to say that, the barn was ablaze, but just fortunately there wasn't any livestock in there. And I think that when a situation like that happens instantly, it forces some really difficult conversations and decisions to be made as to whether or not we can pick ourselves up again and move forward, and what are we going to do. And so we did come out the other side. We had some amazing support from from neighbours. That's when people do rally around, and the farming community as well, and lots of visitors and well-wishers. But yeah, it is quite haunting, and I keep finding bits of burnt stuff still 18 months later. And I was talking to a farming group, and I mentioned this, and he said, yeah, you'll always keep finding burnt bits, and because they'd had a similar situation. But yeah, it is imprinted on you, but you have to have that bounce back ability. It is sink or swim at times.
So we've immediately got into health and well-being, which is a heck of a topic at the minute in the farming industry, with the political situation, which we won't delve into to any great extent, but also, I guess, the lack of information for the future to enable farmers to plan, and the worry about what is happening. And this is something that you are involved with, obviously, with Farming Community Network, who everybody in the industry knows does such a fantastic job to support the farming community in so many different ways. But I think it might be a good opportunity for you and I to have a chat about what the Farming Community Network is doing now, the structure, and what support is available, because things do change over time with different offers. So if it's possible, could you just give us an overview of where the Farming Community Network is now, and what you're doing?
Absolutely. I can talk all day because, like you said, they're a great bunch, and I'm really passionate about the difference that the charity does make. FCN are totally steeped in agriculture. So the majority of our staff team live, breathe, are immersed in farming like myself, because we're doing it on a daily basis. And the mainstay of our volunteers as well across England and Wales are from a farming background, whether that be an active farmer now, young farmer. We span all generations, retired vets, land agents, people from the health sector, a whole range of different skill sets that our volunteers have. So we have empathy, understanding, and real kind of experience to reflect on, and I think that creates a lot of trust when we do talk to farmers. But we've just gone into a new 3-year strategy. The mainstay of our activity over the last 30 years, because 2025 does see us celebrate our 30th anniversary, is our helpline. So manned 365 days a year from 7 till 11 by a team of fantastic, well-trained volunteers, backed up by the staff team. And sometimes people just want to chat, just to get it off their chest. We know that it takes multiple attempts for people to pick up the phone, to have the courage to be able to say, you know, I'm not okay, I'm not in a good place here. But sometimes people just want to talk, and that's absolutely fine. They might not want to take it further. But for those people that do require some more one-to-one support and guidance, we triage down to our county groups within typically a day or two, and arrange a meeting, a phone call, to have that opportunity to spend time, listen, support, connect, be a critical friend to anybody, whatever the challenge might be. And we'll walk with that farming family or whoever the individual through whatever's going on, whatever that challenge might be. And really taking the time, and that's the main thing that we are going to talk about, because listening, we need to have an opportunity really to take time, because farmers like to talk about a lot of different things before we get to the crux of the problem. We need to be able to talk about how great beef prices are at the minute, or that we need some rain, or how did lambing go, and then dig a little bit deeper and create that trust, because we're talking about some really personal and quite difficult things that are going on in people's lives. We know that typically, month in, month out, the 3 main reasons that we get calls are mental health problems, family relationships and disputes, and financial problems. So that dreadful topic that we love to hate, succession, the difficulties, that is such a crippling conversation sometimes, especially when farming families are at loggerheads. And I know we're not going to get political, but the one thing that has come out of the inheritance tax shifting, it's forcing farming families to address that and to have those conversations as to how are we getting on, what do we need to do. So really, we're there to be able to mediate on occasions and support people through those sometimes very, very difficult and awkward conversations as to, are we retiring? What's the plan? When's dad going to step aside, or mum, and let the next generation come through? But then we will get occasions where there'll be a weather event, or RPA payments haven't been received, or perhaps it could be since SFI has been abruptly halted, that have reflected, and that has been the straw that's been broken the camel's back. But often they're multi-layered issues, so they might be a health problem, a relationship breakdown, animal health issues as well. So we really have to be quite aware of the bigger picture whenever we go and look at a situation, and then support and guide and really make sure that that farming family is accessing whatever support and help that they can get, really. So that is our reactive work. Sorry.
I was going to say, we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that. I think we're all aware that this issue of health and well-being has come much more to the fore in the last 2 or 3 years. We, for example, in the Farmer Network, up until I would say 3 years ago, and for many years before then, our focus, the need from the farming community from us, was all about business support. How can we help you in your businesses in terms of viability, sustainability, and dealing with those issues? In the last 3 years, our members have been asking us for more support with their health and their well-being. So we're kind of a little bit further up that, what I call a chain of descent. We get members and other farmers ringing here, as you said, often on the pretext of something else, and then telling us that they're a bit worried, a bit unsure, not having a good day, and in the worst situations, feeling much worse than that, in which case we have a very good relationship both ways, as you know, with the two networks. And I guess we've had to become more involved and learn some of those skills further up that chain. However, it would be good to kind of know, get some idea of the scale of what you're dealing with in FCN now in terms of referrals and phone calls, and presumably because of what's happening in the farming world at the minute, those calls to you have increased.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, and you'll know this from situations in bygone years, farmers tend to survive and cope with the immediate. So you will just deal with the here and now, and then maybe in a few months' time, when funds have run out, or when the situation has kind of moved on, that is when there will be a call made. So it isn't necessarily that we are inundated with calls about SFI. There's a level of, I think, flapping, and then farmers panicking, and goodness knows what else, coping, but then making calls later on. So usually we receive about 150 calls a month. We're supporting around 6,000 farming families each year. But we get a lot of people that are inquiring. It doesn't have to be through the helpline. So they might be one-to-one conversations with our volunteers that are present at shows. Because we are, like you said, everywhere. We're at over 450 events each year, flying the flag, being a consistent message of support. So we don't want to be, I mean, I've worked in farming charities for donkey's years, and there was a time where nobody wanted to talk to the charity person because it meant that, oh gosh, I need help, I'm a failure. There was a stigma attached. But now I think that it's like turning a juggernaut, but there is a bit of a shift in it's absolutely okay to go and have a chat. We're not making any assumptions. There is no everything that we do is completely confidential, but it's about making sure that we're just part of an everyday conversation. Have you heard about the FCA might be able to support you? And that really kind of reflects in the proactive work that I really want to touch upon, reaching people way before the point of crisis. So we're not having to wait for those ladies and gentlemen that are phoning the helpline. We want to get to them way before that point. And with that, we have an online platform, farmwell.org.uk, that receives about 15,000 hits a year. And that's there to provide information about personal and business resilience. So if somebody wants some information about diversification or rural crime or quitting smoking, the latest legislation about a particular industry, it's on there for people to access in their own time and think about it and then act on it. So exactly like you as a network, we as a network are there, not the experts in anything, but we have a hand in lots of different parts of the community to be able to provide expert information, and then hopefully help act as a conduit to all that different sort of support. I think that the complexities of what we have to deal with really mean that it can be challenging, and to hopefully get to people before that point is great. And I think as well, something that we're doing that's worth a mention, um, it's about farming in the green zone. So we're seeing about just keeping your health and your business health in the green zone. So we've got a little personal MOT and a business MOT on that website, which explores, it's not there to pull you up on what you're not doing. It might highlight actually the business is in a pretty good position. We have had a day off in the last month. We have got our succession in order. We are well insured. We have got a healthy work-life balance. But it also highlights areas that you might just need to tweak or look for some more support on. So that's a really good tool to be able to mitigate that getting too far down the rabbit hole of a challenge. And recognizing as well that it's absolutely perfectly normal to have a rubbish day and not catastrophize the industry that we're in, or having a stressful day and then going, oh gosh, what's going to happen. But it's about managing that, about our bounce back ability as an industry and resilience that we have. But if those dark days become too frequent, where to turn to for support that is there in a consistent way.
That's so important, isn't it? Because if we're all being honest, and I'm being honest here, we all have bad days.
Absolutely.
And those days when you feel you don't want to be bothered carrying on with your job, you're sick and fed up, you think you could be doing something better than this, you can't be bothered, or in worst case scenarios, that those thoughts are even darker than that. And what would your advice be to somebody in those situations? They're on the tractor, they're ploughing a field, they're going up and down, they're worried, they're feeling miserable. What would your advice be to them?
Well, again, like I've said, that bad days are completely normal for a variety of reasons. And we are still, I know we're farmers, we're a weird old bunch, but we are people. First and foremost, we're all the same. So there'll be a lot of people that are in very similar situations. And I think that does provide an element of comfort. I think that the isolation on the tractor, when you can start to catastrophize and think that that things are a lot worse than they are, it's about recognizing that you are potentially churning things over. And I also think when you can't sleep at night, everything just seems 100 times worse. And then you wake up in the morning and think, well, what was that all about? But it's about knowing those gremlins in your mind, and that actually tomorrow will be a brighter day. But having a minute then to be able to either drop somebody a text, pick up the phone, get off the tractor, go and have a walk, do something different, take a different step away from that moment, and just to take a bit of a reflection on the good things and really focus on what has gone well. My mum and various other people that I've heard over the years, it's like, if you make your bed in the morning, that's the first task, then you've done that task, you've accomplished something. So just baby steps in what you do, and how to really kind of allow yourself to have a poor me moment, because you absolutely can, but then to have some self-love. And I know that sounds all very touchy-feely and huggy, but farmers are bloody amazing. And to actually recognise the importance that there is no farm, there is no production, there is nothing more important than that farmer at that point. So really knowing that your friends are around you and probably dealing with very similar situations, might need you as much as you need them, but really taking a step away and making sure you get enough sleep.
I think that the work that you and the other farming charities and a lot of other people in the industry have done over this last few years to give that message that it's normal for these things to happen, and it's okay to talk about it. I've often made the case in meetings to say that if you'd asked a farmer 10 years ago, how are you doing? Really, how are you doing? No, wrong with me. I think we've got past that. And I think we've got past that with all ages, within the farming industry. And I think that's a real positive. And it's down to you guys and others as well,
Yeah.
to say it's okay. We can deal with this. Um, Moving away from sort of self and farmers, trying to look after themselves. What about those farmers who are concerned with perhaps neighbours or family members or other people, and you have concerns? I've heard it said to me, "Oh well, I'm kind of worried about them next door, but I don't really want to go there. I
Yeah.
might make it worse." What would your advice be in that situation?
I'm so glad you've asked this because it doesn't just stem to the farmer, it also applies to anybody that's going down that farm track. So, tanker drivers, vets, agronomists, anybody that's seeing farmers. And I'm really pleased that the corporate industry and the business side of the farming world is becoming more proactive in having those difficult conversations and how to recognize the signs of people that might be struggling or having difficulties and how to have those conversations. So we at FCN have created, as a result of the demand from the industry, a well-being in agriculture training course, which really does go into quite a lot of detail as to why farmers do neglect themselves, what to look out for, and how to approach that. So my words of wisdom that I would suggest is to really see if people are struggling to perhaps look after their livestock. We know that farmers will put 99 times out of 100, they'll put everything, they'll put the livestock first before anything else. So if standards are slipping, you can probably bet your bottom dollar that things inside the home are 10 times worse. If people are becoming more insular, not communicating as much, they're not going out and about, maybe not returning your phone calls, if their personal what they look like and their personal hygiene is slipping, if they're sort of failing to look after themselves, it's could be a sign that they are not coping with the situation. If there's been a bereavement, obviously, or a TB outbreak or a challenge like that, then those are kind of triggers as to what there might be a deeper issue there. The number one thing that you must have is time on your hands, because there's absolutely no point in saying, "Are you okay?" And if somebody does start to open up, say, "I've only got 5 minutes. Sorry, John. I've got to nip off." It's either making an arrangement at a later date to be able to say, let's go for a walk, or let's just step away. People don't tend to like a confrontational conversation. So face to face, as I'm, across the table, can sometimes be a little bit challenging, especially with eye contact if people aren't comfortable with that. So leaning over the farm gate, going for a walk, taking time out to go to a cafe or something like that, to not be as like I said, confrontational with that conversation is something that I would suggest to do. People, well, I've had it said before, would sometimes rather be shouted at than cried on, because it's how some people are better dealing with emotion than others. We're not trying to make anybody into experts or counsellors. We're just trying to make people find it a little bit easier how to have those difficult conversations. But knowing that it's not a responsibility of them to take the weight of that problem on their shoulders as well. So looking after your own mental health, because when you do take things on, we're a caring industry. We want to make things better. So you need to know where to then signpost on if you need some support, or refer on to FCN, or, like you said, other farming charities, or speak to the guys at the Farmer Network that might be able to back you up on that conversation. So Those are a few little tips that might just support. But again, time, and you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen, it's sometimes people just want to talk.
I think also, and you must find this, what does success look like for us when we've had conversations with farmers that have been worried and they've gone home and talked it through at home, or Um, I've had farmers in my office where we've just had a chat about the issues. We're not solving them there and then, but we've identified them, and the farmers have said, I couldn't see the wood for the trees, and
Yeah.
I've heard that on more than one occasion. Is that what success looks like for SCN?
I think you're right. People do tend to talk themselves into actually, yeah, I've just answered my own questions almost. So success
Mm.
for FCN is reaching people way before the point of crisis, and levelling up the inequalities and the vulnerabilities of the farming sector, whether that be mental or physical health. And it's probably quite a good time to touch upon the work with Macmillan that we've been doing. So nipping things in the bud, and being there when we are hit by something that you didn't see coming. And that's the power. And I think the massive love that I have for the farming world is when the chips are down, boy oh boy, does everybody, knit together, because
Absolutely.
we are incredibly lucky to be blessed with farming as our choice of career. And the office that we have outside on a beautiful day, there's no better place to be. And knowing that there is that a brighter day ahead. So for me, it is coming full circle and having a bounce back, that when things have been difficult, that you've come out of the other side. And success for me, there's nothing I like more than going to agricultural shows and seeing the pride of farmers and the young farmers as well, the next generation, that when they're showing their livestock and they've bred this. I just love that because it really hammers home the care and attention and passion that people, there's nobody more passionate than a farmer, let me tell you, Adam. So I absolutely, I see that as what I love about the work that we do. And if FCN, when you've been sat at a show and you've done this over the years and it's piddling it down, coming at you sideways, which it tends to do a lot in Cumbria, and you're just going, what the hell am I doing here? And then somebody will come up and say, you know what, you really helped out. And it just makes your day. And that's all the kind of gratification that we need, is knowing that we've sorted or we've helped, and people have seen a brighter day.
That's brilliant, Georgina. And now, whenever we can, and it's appropriate to do so with our Farmer Network events, we always invite FCN and the other charities as well. And I think that just the conversations that I had over a brew or a pie and peas supper, I think that really helps everybody. And I think it helps to know that you guys are there, and other organisations like
Yeah.
like ourselves. I'm proud to say the Farmer Network. We're all there just to try and lend a hand and an
Yeah.
ear and more support if it's needed. And so I guess I'm saying a big thank you to you guys and for the work that you do to support the farming community. I honestly and genuinely believe there are better times ahead. I know things are challenging right now at this moment in time, but without a shadow of a doubt, I know that farming and food and
Mm.
good rural land use is going to come to the fore in the future, and that farming has a bright future. It's nice to know you guys are there in support for the difficult times. I'm going to ask you one more question just to finish off our little chat. Um, what does a nice weekend look like for Georgina Lamb? We were approaching the weekend
Oh,
now. Outside, the sun is shining. What are you going to be doing this weekend to switch
you
off?
know, it's very quintessentially British, but it's the Village Scarecrow Festival. And not that I'm political at all, but for the past 2 years, I've entered. And I haven't this year because I've taken my bat and ball home. So my last year, I got my dad to deliver a bale of haylage, plonked it in my front garden, and I made it into a massive spider, and I didn't win, and I was very put out. So my weekend will be hoping that the final blinking Hereford calves. She's 2 months over. She's driving me mad. Horses, and there will be New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc in there for sure.
Well
So,
done, you.
glass of wine, horses, cows, happy families, and yeah, just really appreciating community.
Georgina, thanks very much for giving me your time this morning to have a chat. It's great to catch up with you and learn of the work of FCN. And I know for sure we'll be meeting up again in various
Absolutely.
meetings in the future. But for now, thanks very much indeed. And we'll see you in the near future.